Okay guys, here are the answers to our number 60 triangle and parallelogram quiz review number 2. So, again, this is number 60. If we look at the first one, we see G is formed by the angle bisectors. Well, if that's the angle formed by the angle bisectors, we know that G is the incenter, and the incenter perpendicular to each of the lines, all of those are congruent. So all of those segments are congruent. So we need to know, what is MG? Well, MG is right here. I don't know anything about MG, but what I do know is that GK and GJ are congruent. So I'm going to set GK equal to GJ to solve for x. So we would have 3x plus 7 equals 5x plus 3. Subtract 3x to get 2x. Subtract 3 to get 4. Divide by 2 and you get 2. Now I need to know what MG is. Well, MG, I'm going to plug that in, and MG would be 9 times 2 minus 1. So 18 minus 1 is 17. So that's that answer. The next one is if PN, if C, so guys, these, P is the centroid. The centroid is made of the 3 medians intersecting, and we know from the vertex to the centroid is 2/3 the length, and from the centroid to the midpoint is 1/3 the length. So this is the 2/3, 1/3. This is the 2/3, 1/3. So if CP is 7, then that would be the 2/3 part, and PN would be the 1/3 part. So we have to divide that into 2. So you can have either 7/2 or 3.5. PM right here is the 1/3 part. If that's the 1/3 part, PB is the 2/3 part. So you're going to multiply that by 2 and you're going to get 26. AP, again, is the 2/3 part, and PL is the 1/3 part. So we're going to write an equation, 2/3 equals this doubled. So if I double this, I get the other one. So we're going to have 3x plus 4 equaling 2 times 4x minus 8. So you're going to get 8x minus 16. I'm going to subtract 3x and get 5x. I am going to add 16 and get 20. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. So x equals 4. So that's one of my answers, is x equals 4. But the real question is, what is the length of LP? So LP would be, it's the same as PL. So it's going to be 4 times 4, 16, and 16 minus 8 is 8. So LP would be 8. So there you go. So if that's 8, that would have to be 16. So just to make sure, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. So that's correct. So if that's 8, that would have to be 16. And it does work out. The centroid divides the median segment into what parts? The centroid divides the median segment into what parts? And again, it's the same answer as before. It would be 2/3 and 1/3. The circumcenter is the intersection of the perpendicular bisectors. And then the centroid is the intersection of the medians. So yes, you've had these same questions, but you need to make sure that you know them. All right, next page. V, what is V? Well, what do I see here? I see that's the midpoint, that's the midpoint, that's the midpoint, and you go from the vertex to the midpoint. So those are all medians. So what does the intersection of the three medians make? It makes the centroid. And the way we know that, how do we know? It's because it is formed by the three medians. Formed from the intersection of the three medians. Formed from the intersection of the three medians. If you wanted to, I spelled that wrong again. If you wanted to balance a triangle on the tip of a pencil, what point should you use on the circle? And again, it would be the centroid. The in center of a triangle is a point where the angle bisectors of the triangle meet. So this should be the angle bisectors. To find the centroid, so you're given the coordinates of the vertices of a triangle. So hopefully you remember to find the centroid is you would add your x's up, 14 plus 11 plus 7 divided by 3, and add your y's up, 3 plus 5 plus negative 6 divided by 3. So 14 plus 11 plus 7 is 32 divided by 3 is going to be, you can just leave it 13 over 32, so, or 32 over 3. So you can say 32 over 3, and then this one, you're going to have 5, or 3 plus 5 is 8, minus 6 is 2, so this will be 2/3. And if you want to say 10.6 repeating and 0.6 repeating, you can. That's fine. All right, find the centroid given the right triangle with side lengths of 6, 8, and 10. So I drew it out so you would know where the vertices are. So this would be 0, 0. This would be 0, 6. And this is 8, 0. So the centroid, again, you add your x's up, 0 plus 0 plus 8 and divide by 3, and add your y's up, 6 plus 0 plus 0 divided by 3, and here you're going to get 8/3 and 2. If you want to say, I think that's 2.6 repeating. If you want to say 2.6 repeating, then you can do that. All right, so there's that. Next one. Circle K services 3 major cities and needs to place a gas plant at the same distance from all 3. If the cities have the following coordinates, what coordinate should they build the plant on? So let's draw this out. This is number 13. So we're going to graph -2, 0, -2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 7, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you see, or hopefully you see it, is they form a right triangle. Well, what do we actually need to find? We need to find a coordinate where it's the same distance from all 3. So the coordinate that we need to find that is the same distance from all 3 is the circumcenter. And on a right triangle, so this is a right triangle, on a right triangle, how do we find the circumcenter on a right triangle? Well, the circumcenter on a right triangle is the midpoint. Circumcenter on a right triangle is the midpoint of the hypotenuse. Midpoint of the hypotenuse. All right, so to find the midpoint of the hypotenuse, I need these coordinates. So this is 7, 5, and this is -2, 0. So the circumcenter would be, add your x's up, -2 plus 7 divided by 2, and then add your y's up, 0 plus 5 divided by 2. So we're going to end up with 5 halves and 5 halves, or if you want, 2.5 and 2.5. So let me see. If I go over 1, 2, and over a half, and go up 1, 2, and up a half, yep, there is my midpoint. So this would be 5 halves and 5 halves, or 2.5 and 2.5. So therefore, that is equidistance to this vertice, to this vertice, and to this vertice. Those are all congruent lines. So that's where they would put the gas plant in order to service all 3 cities and be the same distance from all 3 cities. So that's number 13. So number 13, I'll write here, it's going to be 5 halves and 5 halves. Look on next page. All right. Number 14. Number 14 says L is the incenter of the triangle. So if L is the incenter, then you know that LD, LE, and LF are all congruent. So I can set LD and LF equal to each other. So 3x minus 3 equals 2x plus 2, and you get x equals 5. And now the real question is, what is AL? That's what they want. So AL is going to be 5 squared plus 4. 25 plus 4 is 29. So there you go. Knowing the DE is the midsegment, what's going to happen? So if that's the midsegment, if BC is 28, then this is half of 28. So half of 28 would be 14. If AD is 7.2, then DB also has to be 7.2, because if this is the midsegment, it's formed from the midpoints. So this would be congruent to this one. This would be congruent to this one. Find x if DE is 10 and BC is 2x minus 10. Well, I know that if I double DE, it equals BC. So I'm going to have to say, right here, I'm going to have to say 2 times 10. If I double the midsegment, it equals the base, 2x minus 10. So here I get 20 equals 2x minus 10. Add 10, and I get 30. Divide by 2, and I get 15. So x is 15. And then AE and EC, we know AE and EC are congruent because that's the midpoint. So now we would say 7y minus 1 equals 3y plus 15. Subtract 3y to give you 4y. Add 1 to give you 16. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So y is 4. So there you go. So A is 14. B was 7.2. C is 15, and then D is 4. Solve for x. If they're parallelograms, solve for x and y. So if they're parallelograms, what you know are the diagonals bisect each other. So I can say 12 equals x plus 3. Subtract 3 and you get x is 9. And then the other one would be 2y minus 1 equals 9. 2y equals 10. Y equals 5. So x is 9 and y is 5. And then on this next one, I am pretty sure y'all have had the same exact problem 3 times now. So you should know what it is. Since the diagonals bisect each other, you should know that CP is congruent to PA. So we're going to set them equal to each other. So you would say 4x plus 7 equals 5x plus 3. Subtract 4x and you get x. Subtract 3 and you get 4. So x is 4. So what we know is they want to know what CA is, the whole thing. So here you get 4 times 4 plus 7, which is 23. And then here you get 5 times 4 plus 3 is also 23. So what we know is CA is CP plus PA combined. So CA would be 23 plus 23, which is 46. So literally, that is the second or third time you all have had this problem. So hopefully you understand it by now. Okay, and then number 18. All right, number 18. In parallelogram ABCD, so let's draw out parallelogram ABCD. A is 3x minus 4. So A is 3x minus 4, and B is 5x plus 8. So if this one is 3x minus 4, and this one is 5x plus 8, what do you know about angles A and angle B? Hopefully you know that they are supplementary. So angle A plus angle B equals 180. So we can say 3x minus 4 plus 5x plus 8 equals 180. 3x and 5x is 8x. So now I'm going to say 180 minus 8 plus 4, or I can just say 180 minus 4 is 176. 176 divided by 8 is 22. So x is 22. All right, so they want to know what is angle C and what is angle D. Well, if I know what angle A is, I know angle C. If I know what angle B is, I know what angle D is. So angle A would be 3 times 22 minus 4. And 3 times 22 minus 4 is 62 degrees. So angle B would actually have to be the supplement, but we'll work it out. It would be 5 times 22 plus 8. So 5 times 22 plus 8 would be 118 degrees. And 118 plus 62, guys, should equal 180. Those should be supplementary. So angle C would have to be angle A, which is 62 degrees, and angle D would have to be angle B, which is 118 degrees. So opposite angles are supplementary, opposite angles are equal, and consecutive angles are supplementary. So A and B add up to 180, A equals C, and B equals D. Right here, this is a kite. So what do we know? We know that 2x minus 7 equals 15, because if it's a kite, the long diagonal bisects the short diagonal. So we know 2x minus 7 equals 15. 2x equals 22. X equals 11. And then, in order to find y, I know that 15 squared plus 8 squared equals y squared. So 15 squared plus 8 squared equals y squared. 15 squared plus 8 squared is 289. And when I take the square root of 289, I get 17. All right, the other thing we need to know is on a kite, the opposite angles of the short diagonal. So here's the long diagonal, here's the short diagonal. So these angles are congruent. So we know angle X has to equal 114 degrees also. And then we also know, since it's a quadrilateral, all four of them have to add up to 360. So 114 plus 88 plus 114 plus y all have to equal 360. So 360 minus 114 minus 114 minus 88 leaves us with 44. So y is 44 degrees. Yes, you have had several of these problems. It's really hard to find problems like these. There's not a whole lot of them. All right, so recall the attributes of a parallelogram in addition to everything the parallelogram has. So remember, let's just remember a parallelogram. Opposite sides are congruent. On a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. On a parallelogram, this is angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. Angle 1 plus angle 2 are supplementary. 2 and 3 are supplementary, 3 and 4 are supplementary, 4 and 1 are supplementary. But so consecutive angles are supplementary, and opposite angles are congruent. So angle 1 equals angle 3, angle 2 equals angle 4. And then, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last one is on a parallelogram, the diagonals will bisect each other. All right, so what's special about a rectangle? What happened with a rectangle was this. Not only do the diagonals bisect each other, but the diagonals are congruent. And also, all the angles are 90 degrees. All angles are 90 degrees. Well, what's special about a rhombus is not only do the diagonals bisect each other, but the diagonals intersect at 90 degrees. And all the sides are congruent. Oh, so what do we know about so on a rhombus, the diagonals intersect at 90 degrees and all the sides are congruent. So just to show you, on a rectangle, all the angles are right angles, and the diagonals not only bisect each other, but they're congruent. So this would be equal to this, would be equal to this, would be equal to that. So that's a rectangle. On a rhombus, all the sides are congruent. All the sides are congruent. And the diagonals aren't equal like on a rectangle, but they do bisect each other like on the parallelogram, but they intersect at a 90-degree angle. So that's the deal with a rhombus. And then the last part, a square. A square is everything a parallelogram, rectangle, and rhombus are. All right, so on a square, opposite sides are congruent and parallel. Opposite angles are congruent. Consecutive angles are supplementary, and the diagonals bisect each other. But just in addition to that, like a rectangle, all of the angles are 90 degrees, and the diagonals are congruent. So this is equal to this, is equal to this, is equal to this. And like a rhombus, all the sides are congruent. So all of the sides are congruent, and the diagonals bisect at a 90-degree angle. So that's what's special about a square. It's everything a parallelogram is, a rectangle is, and a rhombus is. So there you go. So you all need to study number 59, quiz review number 1, and number 60, quiz review number 2 for your quiz tomorrow.